Big commercial real estate developer pauses a massive residential project in downtown Seattle over Seattle crime crisis. Is crime really that bad in Seattle? Why would you pause construction of a massive building otherwise? Let's get into it. Let's take a peek and see what we've got going on. Here we go. It's a really good article from Jason Rantz, KTTH, Seattle. Conservative in Seattle. Yep. There are a few of us. There's a handful of us. What we've got going on here is this is the McDonald's, the location that we are talking about. This is our favorite section of Seattle. This is 3rd Avenue between Pike and Pine Street. And this is the Blade. This is where you have open air drug use 24/7 in Seattle. They've put up multiple police emphasis units. And then the minute they back those off, everything just goes back to just going straight to hell. And so here on 2nd and Pike is the location. I mean, it is literally 1 block to the south and west of the McDonald's that is arguably the most dangerous McDonald's in all of Seattle. Certainly north of California, for sure. East Coast, there's probably other McDonald's that are more dangerous, but you know, Kevin Corbett, the CEO of Plus Investment USA, waited over 8 years for a master use permit to build a 46-unit residential tower near Pike Place Market, but he's indefinitely paused the construction over the Seattle crime crisis. Unfortunately, this is a really interesting quote. Unfortunately, these guys got millions, dumped into this, or investors have. Unfortunately, I don't see us going vertical, meaning building up, anytime soon with the continued public safety concerns in the neighborhood, Corbett told the Puget Sound Business Journal. Open air drug markets are still visible day and night on 2nd and 3rd Avenue. I know the city needs more resources. They need more cops. They need more judges. They need more. Well, we know that, right? City needs more resources, but I don't see much new downtown commercial development happening until there is a stronger crackdown on these illegal activities. Now, this is in an area where all kinds of stores, all kinds of retail has shut down. Literally, recently, you've got Goodwill to close 2 Seattle locations due to rising safety and theft concerns. One is in the South Lake Union area, just a little bit to the north and east of where we're talking about here. Another is in the University District location. We've got a Starbucks at 1st and Pike. We're talking 2nd and Pike on this development. Now we're at 1st and Pike, a block away. A Starbucks, literally across the street from the Pike Place Market, where they throw the fish. Yeah, that one. It's temporarily closed to evaluate the environment. What's going to happen? Well, they took off the Starbucks lettering from the doors. It's kind of an indication of they ain't coming back, right? They're not coming back. What they realized is, there's a crime crisis in downtown Seattle. You got a lot of nut jobs. You got nut jobs and you got drug addicts. And sometimes you've got addicts who are nut jobs running around, breaking into places, doing crazy, crazy stuff. And who can blame somebody for not wanting to, build a big, huge complex that is dependent upon safe streets, which you do not have in this area of Seattle. The Pike Towers project was slated to be 2 glass towers, one 46 stories and the other 16 stories. These are big buildings. A rendering from the project suggests ground level retail. They'll have that. And the ground level retail stores, off the top of my head, we've had a Nike store closed down. I think we had a Columbia store closed down. We had a PCC store closed down, which is a grocery store. It's called a grocery store. We've had all kinds of stores closed down in this area because you got a bunch of crazy people doing crazy things, selling stolen goods, buying drugs, doing drugs. And you got people that are just whacked out all day long in this area of town. And why is the guy stopping building the building? Because of that. Because of the nut jobs running around and people breaking into buildings. Everybody's got private security. It's just one of those things where it continues to go on. And I think at this point in time, people in Seattle are kind of tired of hearing about it. Yeah. We keep hearing about the crime, but we don't really care because this is Seattle and this is what we do. Why did the developer pause a massive construction in downtown Seattle? For the reasons we just talked about. So homeless addicts openly buy and use their drug of choice, usually fentanyl, but sometimes meth, across the downtown core. Some stand tall, swaying back and forth, stuck in their high. Others have bodies contorted and they're bent over into shapes and positions you don't think possible. And you know what? You will see these people when they are somewhat sober going to get their next fix, and they are hunched over because their bodies get stuck in these positions. I kid you not. Till you come into a downtown major market, you'll see that in Portland. You'll see that in San Francisco. You'll see that in all kinds of markets where you've allowed open air drug use to happen. Others are so blissfully high, they don't even notice the oozing, festering wounds on their arms or legs because they're taking Trank, which is, a horse tranquilizer, xylazine, and they're mixing that in with fentanyl. And they're not mixing it, the addicts aren't, but it's being mixed into their medication, into their pills, and they're smoking it. And so they're getting a horse tranquilizer or they're injecting it. And the area is the skin. It kills the skin. And they just have these massive abscesses. And saw one the other day, this woman was walking along, and her leg is about ready to come off because it's about ready to come off. And there's trash everywhere. The smell of urine on 3rd between Pike and Pine is so pungent, you can taste it in the back of your throat. When Jason wrote that, I know exactly what that is because I've walked this street a handful of times. I have my son Kieran, he walks it every now and then, so we can talk about it. And it's bad. It's just bad. I mean, it's rough. So it's what tourists first experience if they walk to Pike Place Market or take the light rail from the Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. It dumps you off on the blade. It jumps you off right there. That is where the bus takes you. So, or the light rail. It's is there a plan to address Seattle crime? Yeah. People No, not really. It's just kind of business as usual. Let's just keep going. We'll see how this goes. But then you've got businesses that are no-go. You've got a massive vacancy rate right around this area. Other parts of Seattle, there's other bad parts of Seattle. 12th and South Jackson in the International District. Yeah, it's terrible, horrible, same deal. So you've got these areas within the community that are within downtown that have just been kind of left to their own devices. And you know what I think it is? Where are you going to clear out all these addicts? Where are you going to clear out all of these criminals? And where are they going to go? This is their territory. This is their turf. They're not going to go away. Bye-bye. So they keep claiming it. And so literally, how are you going to clean them out? How are you going to clear them out? Because they're going to come back no matter what. They've already determined this is it. So I think the city's kind of just given up. They're just like, if you got real estate in that area, I'm sorry to hear that, but, tough luck. Tough whaties, right? So, I mean, to me, that's why this area has had some half-hearted emphasis patrols. And, we're really going to get to it this time. We're really going to get the criminal element out of there. But that's not the case. Where's the media coverage? This is an interesting one. Normally, news of such a high-profile project being put on pause would generate media coverage. For this one, not so much. It's been relegated to business and real estate outlets, and there's very little on this building. And it's because I think we've just relegated ourselves to, got a bunch of crime in downtown Seattle, big city crime. I literally think people have given up. And if you've got a project that's in the heart of it, hey, sorry about that. Better luck next time. Yeah, do your due diligence. The problem is like this building has been in the development for what? Maybe like 8 years, I think, somewhere along that, something like that. I mean, a long time. Was this area that bad back then? It's always been bad, but I think it's gotten, since the pandemic, this area has gotten worse. So Jason goes on to say, local media like the Seattle Times have gone out of their way to not blame the crime crisis for the problems in downtown Seattle. Well, Seattle Times ownership is very liberal, and they don't want to admit that there is a crime problem in Seattle. They certainly don't want to admit that there's a correlation between the criminal element and open air drug markets and just our acceptance of drugs here in Seattle. They don't want to correlate that with, oh, hey, yeah, developers are putting a hold on a massive project that would bring millions and millions of tax dollars and jobs into the economy. But we don't want to do that. We just want to let the festering continue on 3rd and Pike and Pine, right? But reports in the Seattle Times in June painted grim pictures of the commercial and residential real estate market in downtown Seattle. One article pointed to astonishingly low price tags for previously pricey commercial buildings, including the near-empty Pacific Place Mall and the downtown Hilton. Second article noted the price of homes downtown is trending lower than the costs citywide. So some of this has been the consolidation of the whole work from home thing. You don't have as many companies wanting office space in downtown because their employees are working remotely, and they figured out ways to really consolidate the amount of space that they have. And then on top of that, nobody wants to have office space that, their employees, if they walk out to get lunch, they might run into some just absolute nut job that we're going to read about here in a second. Jeffrey Judson Baker, investment manager at Lake Union Partners, recently penned an open letter about the conditions downtown. He blamed the crisis on misplaced compassion. Misplaced? Okay, we'll give that one. Yeah, we'll let that one ride. That left addicts to rot in doorways and the mentally ill to suffer on the streets. We aren't involuntarily putting whacked out nut jobs on drugs into treatment, nor are we putting them into mental institutions because we don't have the bandwidth to do it. We don't have the resources to do it. Plus, we're just not doing that. And Seattle in particular, we're not doing that. We can barely get the people that have committed felony crimes, book them in jail. Misdemeanor? It's okay. You're good to go. Just keep going. Just keep going. I've had these conversations for a long time, kind of behind closed doors. Business leaders are often doing things behind the scenes, lobbying with local groups. So Justin Baker said a recent walk from his home in Pioneer Square to a business meeting prompted his letter. I get up early in the morning and I wake up to somebody having a manic episode right outside my door, screaming at nothing. And I've read this for another podcast, screaming at nothing, screaming at the trees, screaming at the clouds, because they're mental. It's, they've got mental issues. They need to be in treatment somewhere. They need to be getting medication somewhere. They need to have something going on for them other than them, hanging out at 6 o'clock in the morning. This person's fully naked, running around the street, screaming at 6 in the morning, he said. And what do we do in Seattle? Yeah, that's horrible. That's terrible. Oh, I can't believe it. Somebody should do something. That's what we do. Keep on walking. Keep on walking. That guy might just come up over here and whack us with his you-know-what. It's crazy. It's literally crazy. I mean, I've had live streams, and I've talked about live streams where you got to be careful, because when you're holding the phone and you're streaming and you got a bunch of people walking around or running around or shooting up right next to you, you just got to be careful, because these people they're not all there, right? He said his walk to a light rail station was a tour of human misery. Every person I see is either folded in half, looking for drugs, having a mental breakdown, or asking for money to go. Who knows? He recalled. And I finally get to the 3rd and Cherry Light rail station, and there's human waste in front of it, needles, people sleeping directly in front of the escalator. And as you're watching all these commuters that are coming to the Central Business District core, which is dying actively, you see office occupancies way down, vacancies way up. This is the common story. He calls this area a war zone, and he's speaking up because he loves his city and doesn't want to see it continue to deteriorate. Now he's waiting for more local leaders in the mayor's office to act. I don't think there's going to be much action. And we're still going the other way. There's a bunch of other issues. You don't have enough cops. You don't have the funding. You don't have, jail space. Because we've elected officials in Seattle that have deemed all of these things to be okay. And now we're living with it. And now one of the big things that we're going to live with is continued decline of revenue from the downtown commercial core. That pays what percentage of the city's budget and bills? A big one. I don't know exactly what it is for Seattle, but that is one thing that you continually have pointed at is here's the reason our budget is so woefully, we're underfunded. Because tax revenue. So now you've got even less tax revenue because you don't have the completed building. You don't have, sales tax coming in. You don't have all of the revenue from a completed project that is having a positive impact on the area. Instead, you've got goodwill in the area closing down stores. You've got Starbucks closing down stores. And these all contribute to lack of tax revenue. Yeah. Shocking how all of that works together. Well, I've been railing on about downtown Seattle for years. And is it getting any better? Kind of goes in these waves, right? Kind of goes in these waves. But until you drop the hammer on what you've got going on here, and I don't know how you're going to do that from the standpoint of, well, let's take them on, put them on an island. Really? I'd like to see your logistics on that. How are you going to do that? How are you going to, it's like wrangling, what's the saying? Herding kittens. You know how that goes. They just kind of wander off. These people are addicted to drugs and they're mentally ill, and often a combination. These people need help. They need help, not just allow them misplaced compassion, not just allow them to live wherever the F they want and then impact business from the standpoint of, hey, let's go into that store. Nah, there's a naked dude doing gyrations there. I say we go the opposite way. Let's go that way. What's odd, what I find really wild is that I have this image in my head of standing at Westlake Park, at the corner of Westlake Park. And from there, you can basically see all the way to Pike Place Market. You've got basically a straight shot, and from one of those corners right there, and you're like, there's millions of people that go to the Pike Place Market and tourists, and they don't know what is literally 2 blocks away from them is just this crazy mini ecosystem that's based on drugs and people addicted to drugs and people with mental issues who are trying to self-medicate themselves to the point where they're no longer impacted by all the crazy thoughts they have going through their head. They're just trying to get to a place where things aren't quite so bad. And we as a society, we've allowed this to happen. We've allowed it to happen. We watched One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and everybody went, I can't have that anymore. Close down all the mental institutions, close down the asylums. And so we did. And now we're living with it. If you want to go see for yourself, go walk the Blade, Pike and Pine, downtown Seattle, 3rd Avenue. Tell me what you think. Do it on a Friday night about midnight. Dare ya? Yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting stuff. Every now and then we'll have a shooting, we'll have a murder there, we'll have a stabbing. Amazon doesn't want to, the old Macy's building, which is literally, okay, here's 3rd, and where's our Pine? Here's Pine. It's literally right here. Amazon's like, yeah, I don't think we're going to release that space there, the old Macy's building right here. We're probably not gonna. Yeah, that's a no-go for us because, we've got some public safety issues. You do. And they're not going away anytime soon. So this area of downtown Seattle, kind of the core part, it's hosed. Whether it's temporary or long-term, I think it's more of a longer-term issue because you're not going to, in a city like Seattle, we're not going to do what we need to do to really get these people the help that they need because we go down this road of misplaced compassion. Yeah. And we elect officials in that go down this road as well. Now there's moderates in office now that are doing a pushback on, exactly what's going on. It's going to take years. It's going to take years, and it's going to take reasonable people. And I don't know if you've been to Seattle. Not a lot of reasonable people there. Yeah, really not. Okay. That's it for me. Thanks so much for being here. I'd love to have you subscribe, do all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.